Hey everybody, welcome to Northern Thailand and welcome to Worm Bin Weekends Week 2. Now, just to give you a recap, since their first week to now, I have been playing Worm Lifeguard. These guys, I'm gonna tell you something, they love this water bin, maybe a little bit too much. It's an indication, obviously, that the bins are still cycling and the evacuation from the bins is not an abnormal thing. And the water bin, the water tub I should say, is turning out to be a blessing in disguise because if it wasn't for this, they'd probably just be dried out and died, which I have had a few happen to that way. They've dried out on the lids. A couple of them actually got all the way out of the water bin onto the floor. But for the most part, they stay in the water tub itself. They really enjoy it. But with that being said, obviously if they're in the water tub, they're not in their bins eating the food. So that's something we're gonna have to take a look at. But that's happening because both the mesophilic and the thermophilic cycles didn't get a chance to take place before I got the worms. This is just gonna take time. And I was debating whether or not to even start this series until after the bins had gone through those cycles. But I thought to myself, you know what? Everybody needs to see both successes and failures. If you have a situation similar to what happened to me, then at least this way you know what not to do. And if you do find yourself in a situation similar to mine, some of the things that we're going to try to do to fix and remedy those things so that you don't have to go through it. You go to school on my mistakes. So anyway, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with bin 1. Let's do it. All right, here we are with bin number 1. Now I'm trying a different camera angle this week because based off what I saw last week, it didn't really look like you guys were able to see all the sides of the bin very well. So I'm hoping that this week you're able to see things a little bit better. Here we go. Bin's pretty dry, not too bad. Sides, top, everything pretty good. No crawlers, that's good. Now, one thing I did mention in the backstory from this week, as I was saying, they were in the water tub quite a bit swimming. Just tonight before I started filming, I pulled out 60. And the messed up thing about that is I have no idea which bins they came from. So what I'm gonna do is just divide it up equally amongst all 3 bins and put 20 in each. So that's the way that's gonna roll. I also, during the week, sprayed a lot of water in these bins. And for the very reasons that I was hoping they would not go into the water tub for, it didn't really seem to work all that well. The bin is still cycling. It's only now getting through the mesophilic stage of bacteria, so it may take a while before these things stabilize, and that's my guess. Now, I don't know if you can still see it or not, but in the front of the bin here, I can already see a lot of worms. They're still mostly on the sides. There's one little guy here, up on the edge. This is bin number 1 in the tower, in the water tub, the tower that's in the water tub. This is the bottom bin, which typically tends to also be the coolest of the bins. I was actually doing temperature checks both in the day during the peak of the heat and in the evenings before I went to bed. And the bins have been maintaining roughly ambient temperature temps themselves. So that does indicate that, you know, there is some activity that's going on in the bin, but it's not exceeding the ambient temperature outside, which I'm actually quite thankful for, because even with the mesophilic heating phase, it can get up over 100 degrees Fahrenheit really easy. So I'm hoping as I slowly kind of work things together that this works out better for the worms this way. But let's go ahead and start pulling some of this apart. It's really, really damp. As you can see, I can practically roll out the bedding material. It's really clumped together. This had a little bit of food in it, it appears. Some rice there or something. Yeah, that looks like that may be some of the rice from the feeding we gave. You may recall from week 1, we gave a very large feeding in here to hopefully entice the worms into the center portion of the bin, but this looks just to be the food by itself. I don't really see any worms in it. It's just the food. It's caused all the clumping that's come together here. I do see castings though, which is really interesting. I think they may just be feeding off of corrugated cardboard bedding, but I don't see any worms in this material. So yeah, let's just keep going. A little bit of fold, a little bit of mold there on this, and let's flip this over. Yeah, and again, it's really matted bedding. This is one of the things with the cardboard bedding that is going to happen. It will just get together and it clumps together like this. This is one of the downsides to cardboard when it gets too wet. But again, I'd rather have my bin be more wet than too dry. This is just a clumped up mess right now. So that's probably, obviously, the reason why the worms really have not gone into this is because it's just too much of a clumped up mess. Way too much of a clumped up mess. So it's good that I'm mixing it right now. They, well, there you can see them. They're all on the edges of the bin. Look at that. Africans normally don't clump like this. They don't typically do worm balls. It's not that they won't, but they're not like the Reso Europeans in that regard. But they are definitely all together on the sides of the bin like this. So what needs to happen now is I'm going to need to mix in some new bedding, just to kind of fluff this up a bit and maybe even dry it up a little bit. I don't like disturbing them like this, but it's obvious that this needs to happen. So I'm going to try my best to mix this up a little bit better for them. I don't want it becoming anaerobic in here on top of everything else. And I know I'm not really looking at the food section that we fed in. Let me take a look and see if they've even gone into here. Which is, I'm guessing they haven't, because, yeah, they haven't. Yeah, they're not even in this section where the food was. All right, so with that assumption, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to mix this up a little bit. And today I'm actually adding something completely new. I'm not going to go with the feeding this time. I thought I was going to, but, well, I have some salad materials. I have some lettuce, I have some cabbage, carrots, and tomatoes that I wanted to give to the bin. But just looking at this material, what I need to do is I need to get some more bedding in here and kind of mix it up a little bit. What I have today, believe it or not, that right there, that's brown leaf material. The leaves here in my area are really, really big tea tree leaves, and they still have this velvet-like texture to them, which makes them a little bit hard to crumble. So I actually cut them up into strips, and I still also have some corrugated cardboard. So I think I'm just going to try to start mixing this in a little bit, leveling it out. We will give a very small feeding to the bin just to try to see if we can't get the worms interested in something other than hanging out the sides. But yeah, we need to, I can see why they're escaping the bin so much. So let me start with this one, just by getting some browns in. Now the bin is still going to be wet. I'm going to continue to leave the plastic cover on top of it, but at least by doing this, getting a little bit of air in the materials and hopefully not freaking the worms out too much to where they just decide to evacuate because of all this disturbance, they'll become a little bit more interested in things. But right now, yeah, I way overwatered the bin in an effort to try to keep them in here, which had the reverse effect. It drove them out. So let me continue to try to do this. It's important to see both successes and failures. You're going to see a lot of failures with me on this, trust me. Just get some of this stuff mixed in, and I know that this is going to spread some of the food and stuff around and probably not have it in a really well contained area, but this needs to, this definitely needs to get mixed together a little bit better, just to try to take care of things. There's not a really bad odor though, which I'm actually kind of surprised. I would have thought for sure that there would have been like a really stank type of like odor with this, but it's not that bad, which I'm thankful for. But yeah, it's I need to fold this in. Put a little bit of leaf material in here as well. I really don't like being this rough in the bin. I'd rather be a little more gentle, if I could say it that way. But yeah, I want to get this done and get out of here as quickly as possible so that I can get the worms back to just something of peaceful privacy that they enjoy. Right now it's just this is necessary so that things don't become too anaerobic in here. Here's a little bit more of a stink now that I'm in the center where the food was last had. But even still, it's still not as bad as I was expecting it to be. But this is definitely, the bin's not really overly hot either. But again, this is the bottom bin, so it is a little bit cooler than the others. Just gonna have to try to conscious of the moisture content moving forward. And do what I can to try to balance it out a little bit. I really did not want to start the bin off this way, but you know, this is what happens when you end up putting your worms in too soon. And trying to find that right balancing point between moisture and food and bedding and everything else, it takes time. This is the first time I've kept a 14-gallon bin, and you know, like I said in my initial in the bioremediation stage 3 video, I purposely designed it so it's more of like a 10-gallon bin with how low I kept the holes in here. But yeah, anyway, not to keep rambling on this, I'm going to try to wrap this up real quick. We'll put the feeding in and we'll get the worms back into the bin from the water tub. I'm gonna put about 20 of them in there. Get this all mixed together. I realize it probably doesn't look like I'm using a lot of bedding, and I'm not. Not because I don't have it, but I want to try to still keep it moist, but not anaerobically moist, if that makes any sense. I need to kind of keep things even, just as even as possible, if that makes any sense. No more moisture for this bin. Just gonna put the plastic covering on top of it, and that's gonna be it. I am gonna put the feeding in. I said I was going to, but you know what? Hang on. I'm splitting 2 bags of solid between 3 bins, so somebody's gonna get an uneven amount of tomato. That really matters. I'm gonna go right down the center with it again. Lettuce I got. It's horrible. 1 tomato. Ooh. Squirt it all over the bin. 2 tomatoes. cabbage, a little cucumber. That's that. All right. More dry material. Obviously, it's not a lot. Doesn't have to be. A little bit of dry material. Very little bit. All right, guys, that is it. Gonna seal this thing up. Let it go another week. I will not be adding any more water to this bin this week. I'm going to let it ride. And if the worms decide to get out and go for a swim, that's fine too. Completely understandable given the way that this thing's been. It was really nasty in here. So this is just the way it goes. I mean, it's going to be like this for probably the first month. It's going to be a little hard to manage, but we'll get there. But I want to thank you guys for joining me today. We'll see you next week. Please like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do. And hit the bell notification icon in case you haven't done so already so you can be alerted to when I upload new content. Until next time, wherever you are in this world today or tonight, take care. Bye for now.